The week once again, and it's especially that time of the month where we cover everything in the wide world of marketing. Yes, phrasing, I know. Irrespective, we're going to keep pressing on and pretend I didn't say it like that. So, anyway, today we are going to be talking about everything that's happened in the wide world of marketing. And to start it off, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Phelan. I work with Pip at Seymour Digital Media, where we focus on search engine marketing.
And I am Rena Little from Little Works Indie Media, and we run a small digital marketing company in Vancouver.
And I'm Greg, and I run Original 72 Creative. We're also a small digital marketing firm in the Vancouver area.
It's funny that. And so, where do we want to start with what is going on in the world of marketing? I know, Rena, you said that you had a lot that was happening with the social.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I do have a few interesting things that came up recently. One is announced yesterday, Twitter and Shopify. So there's going to be a new partnership that's happening that's going to allow people, specifically right now in the US, to sell where they tweet. So basically, it's you can connect your profile to your shopping manager, and then you can do all sorts of syncing of products and featuring products on the profile and basically selling um, your inventory there. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Twitter is really making some big changes. And the other thing that they have on there this month that I found is they're going to be increasing their tweet lengths. There's going to be something called notes, and you can write long apologies and other things. So that was I read that in somebody else's material. They were the ones that pointed out the apology. So I'm not exactly sure how much of the apology is part of the Twitter thing, but it's definitely possible, which I think will be a good thing. And yeah, and then my other favorite thing is this idea of data companies turning off data traffic tracking. So as most of us know, there was some issue with a data company in the United States that was selling location data um, of people who were visiting Planned Parenthood, and that didn't go over very well on social media. And so now there's a new initiative by the network advertising group that are that have created a bunch of standards, and they are not going to be uh, organizing data that are tied to places of worship, sensitive healthcare services, military bases, LGBTQ plus identity things, and spaces occupied by children under 18, and a bunch of other things. So it's you know it's a group of data trackers that are actually voluntarily doing this, which is kind of nice to see. And some of the companies that are um, opting in, things like Foursquare and Precisely Place IQ and Cubic. I don't know Cubic though, so I'm not sure much about them, but we can look into that. So hopefully more and more will opt into these kinds of initiatives and make it safer for the rest of us, or some of us, or our most vulnerable.
I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are on data tracking in general because there doesn't seem to be a huge value to the user. The value is only in the data and collecting that data for the people who want to find out who you are, where you are, and where you're going. Um,
Well, that depends on how you define value, because I actually do find it valuable to get location based advertising. I appreciate that personally. For
mhm.
example, I don't think of it as any different than any other of the ways that we're able to target me more specifically, based on interests or my age or whatever that is, because I find then my advertising is way more specific and way more appealing. I don't have to deal with any of those kind of crappy generic the ones that we love, over 40 and fat. That's my biggest, I don't have to get over 40 and fat anymore. I can get ones that are based on, my traffic to a particular store or a particular, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And even with those text ones, I don't know if you've ever gotten one of those text ones, but whenever I pass by, I forgot which store it was, but one store on Main Street that I actually opted in, when I pass by, they will tell me what their daily special is. So I can
Mm.
go in if I want to, which I like, but I know it's not for everyone. So it really depends on how you define value and how you like to receive your advertising, or if
I
you like to receive advertising at all.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't like to receive advertising.
I like to know what's going
For the
on
most
yeah, I like to know what's going on.
I mean,
What
the
about
way
definitely.
you?
I typically use my phone is like if I'm in a in if I need to look something up in an area, I will search for something in that area. I don't want to be bombarded with, oh, you're in this area, like go check this out or go check that out or these guys are having a special. I Because people tend to go places for reasons. They're not just
Yeah.
typically walking around somewhere, you know, hoping to get a notification of what to do in this area.
Right. So yes and no. Those kinds of text advertisements are quite specific. You have to sign up for those. People can't just deliver those to you, unless you sign up. Um, when it comes to Facebook ads in particular, they're not going to catch me when I'm in that area. They're going to actually know that I go to that area regularly, or
Hmm.
that I spend a significant amount of time in that area doing other things. And then they send me a Facebook ad about something else that's in that area that I might be interested in. So that's kind of how the Facebook side works.
I would just say, for my own sake, anything. I'm very wary of anything with location data, mostly because it's just as soon as it gets collected, it generally, no matter for what the good is, it still gets abused quite frequently, and there's no way to anonymize
Totally.
that data. They've like gone. It takes like 3 points of contact to basically figure out exactly who the person is on location
Totally.
services. So
Yeah.
generally, it's like one of those ones, like the just the downsides generally just outweigh like any good of advertising, of people being able to figure out
Hmm.
stuff about you. Anecdotally, there was the one about like Target knew this underage girl was pregnant before her parents or even she did, because based on her purchasing habits at Target. And so they can,
Oh yeah.
there's all
Yeah.
this data brokering where they do it, they put it together, and
Yeah.
then they can actually extrapolate things about you you don't even know that you are having going
Yeah.
on. So that's where I always get a little cautious about the. I
Hmm.
generally don't like to be followed with that fine grained detail.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
just to be clear, absolutely. And yes, absolutely. There are a lot of things that are available that don't need to be available for sure.
yeah,
I actually like the ones that you get to opt in. So the text messages that I get to opt in. So I'm fine with that. But you're absolutely right. And the thing that hit me the most at the beginning of location information, so when Foursquare just became big and people were checking in to places,
yeah,
I checked into this one place, gave a little review of whatever. I think it was a burger joint on Broadway. And the next thing I know, my students are showing up to say hi. And it was like, oh, okay, I can see how this could work, not in a very good way, especially since, especially since a lot of that stuff is public. And so, yeah, so then after that, I don't do my reviews or my check ins until after I've left.
yeah, yeah,
And
for
I'm
sure.
no longer there because you don't know who's going to show up, especially stalkers. You don't want to
Unless you're
encourage
checking into like a movie
stalking.
theater or something, you can't just
Yeah,
show up at the movie theater and get in.
yeah,
But
yeah.
restaurants for
And
sure.
just to clarify, I was totally fine with my students showing up, no problem at all, in case they're watching. But it just made me realize the potential of how that could go wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's like it's when you see one of those like, oh, I totally did not predict this to come out with this
Yes.
effect. And like that's where you get to see and you can hear some, if you look into anything about data brokering, which are these
Yeah.
people who aggregate this information and then sell it on to Google, Facebook, and other people.
Yeah.
There's some ones where you hear you're like, oh, I did not think that that data could be put together that way, and that's
Yeah.
terrifying. And there
Yeah.
are certain things where it's very innocuous when we get started, but it can quickly, if someone's a bad actor, then this can get abused
Yeah.
very quickly or have an unintended consequences. So I'm
Yes, I'm all for regulating this kind of stuff too. I think that's a super important way to organize data better in the world,
yeah, well, and
through
also
regulation.
to uh, not just organize it, but like you said, to have it consent. You affirmatively say,
Yes.
I would like these bits of information to be collected and distributed to other people, and be
Yes.
much more cognizant about what we're giving away. I think that that
Yeah.
would be a big part where the education is just not quite there
Yeah.
where
And
it
how we're
needs to
getting
be.
paid. I
Yeah,
downloaded an app not a number of years ago. I think they actually withdrew it. I'm not sure why, but I gave them consent to track me everywhere just as a thing because they were actually paying for the data. And I
mm,
got it was kind of like those survey things where you got a number of points and then eventually you got enough points to get a gift card for gas or whatever it was. And I just wanted to see how it works because, I'm interested in that. And it did work and I did get my first gas card and I think I got two in the end. And I'm not sure what happened with that app because a lot of those apps kind of get revoked and then they're pulled off your phone and you just don't remember that they were ever there if
yeah.
you're like me and have 1,000 apps on your phone. But I wanted to get back to the news because we're kind of going on a nifty little
Uh, Little tangent. I mean, it
side.
is relevant news
Yeah,
that most people need to be
totally.
thinking about, like these as they
Yes,
come to the fore.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's a little bit of a tangent, but I totally agree with you. I mean, I did have
Yeah.
one that was going off of that.
Oh, yeah.
So going off of privacy settings and apps, TikTok had a big raft of announcements, especially with new advertising, while still maintaining some sort of privacy. Uh, we'll see how that shakes out, but they say that that's what they're going to be doing as a privacy focused
Yeah,
version of their
that's
advertising.
true. So they've actually organized themselves to be in a media space, not so much an advertising space. So they actually
Yeah,
came out with a way of speaking about themselves. So they're more interested in entertaining people than advertising to people, which will make it kind of interesting. They're trying to distinguish themselves from other social media platforms, which I think they're doing a really good job of that. And they're trying to make it difficult, or um, they're trying to make it difficult for Facebook to do things like clone aspects of their platform, which is what Facebook tends to do with all of the platforms when they come out with something new and exciting that people dig. Then Facebook will do a copycat version, and typically doesn't always work that well. I mean, I don't know if anyone is picking up on if Facebook Reels is really doing as well as Instagram Reels, because what inevitably happens is people make the Reels for Instagram and then they just put them on Facebook. They're not actually on Facebook. And I think that's the thing that TikTok has done very well, is that the audience is actually on TikTok all the time. There's not this kind of sense of automation like you can do on other platforms where you can kind of fake that you're there.
yeah.
And TikTok, the way that it works reasonably. Oh, I can't read and talk at the same time, so I'm stopping my sentence because somebody's put something up. TikTok has drastically changed the way you get a business account and do not allow access to trending sounds if you have a business account. That is true. And I think that there are a lot of businesses that are not moving towards getting a business account for that very reason.
Yeah.
So, what are the benefits of having a business account? I haven't
Ah,
even turned my account
I
over to business. Oh, you
I'm
know
going to
that?
tell you what
You can
that the
answer?
next one is because that was
Right
the next
on.
point. And
Right
that is
on.
going off of your Twitter announcement is further building their in-app purchases so that it has
Oh,
e-commerce
right.
functionality in the app, which is a big
Okay.
thing in the original version in China. Is that in-app purchases
Hmm.
is a big component because it's all part of the WeChat
Yeah.
extended universe.
Yeah.
where like everything is subsumed to WeChat, and so you could do
Yeah.
purchases in there, and so they're trying to extend that out. So my guess is that
So
you have to do the business account because that in order to
yes,
do that.
you would have to. So I just want to go back to this idea of turning the sound off. So it's not, just so everyone's super clear, it's not punishment. It's copyright law. So if you're a business using a sound, especially if it involves commercial music, like, somebody's top 40 song, um, you're using it for commercial purposes, which would be any business using use, you would have to pay a fee, a fee to own that
Yeah.
copy or to use that copyrighted material. Um, if you're using it for on a personal account, you're using it for personal use, you do not need to. Um, the copyright thing is you're using it for. I forgot what the term is called. It's for
Well, it's fair use
it's
as long as you're not.
fair
It's
use.
fair
That's
use
what it
if
is.
you're
Yeah,
not using it
yeah,
to for your own
yeah.
commercial end. So if you're promoting your own business,
Yes,
you use
and you're
someone's
only using
audio.
a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
So
which
that's
is kind
why.
of
So it's not really a punishment. It's not TikTok delivering a punishment and forcing you to get, um, you know, forcing you to do anything different. It is international copyright law that they are trying to abide by.
yeah.
So
The world's most
that's
It
powerful
one
didn't.
thing.
force, DMCA.
Yeah,
It's stronger than most countries, because
totally.
yeah, because countries will post stuff like from their official Twitter or a Twitter account and it'll get taken down on a DMCA, and it's just like,
Oh, like have you like the story of the Mountie? Here's the Canadian story. Like Canada did not own the Canadian Mountie for a period of years. I think it was about 10 years because Disney decided that they wanted it and they bought it and they forced the Canadian government to sell it because it was either get tied up in court with Disney for years, or hand it over to Disney. So Disney actually used it. And then, funny enough, I don't know why they thought it was going to be any different. You can only really sell Canadian Mountie paraphernalia in Canada. Nobody wants to buy it in Disneyland. So they couldn't make any money off of it and they gave it back to the Canadian government in the end. That's my favorite copyright story.
yeah, and well, on the birthday, the why you never hear "Happy Birthday" ever in a restaurant is because Warner Brothers technically owns the rights to it that they accidentally bought when they bought like a huge back catalog of this other company, and so technically it's owned, but no one wants to push it. So no one's like,
Yeah.
we're not gonna have this fight. We're just not gonna sing the song in our commercial
Yeah,
restaurant.
exactly. So somebody was mentioning, I'm sorry, I can't see the name.
Totally.
It only comes up as
Uh,
Facebook
It
user,
was
but
Aura that's
oh, it's Aura. Okay,
yeah,
cool. So
adding
she
those
says it's
comments.
a bummer though, because your account doesn't come up in the For You page or Trending Sounds feed. That is absolutely correct. I don't know, Aura, do you have a business account? Have you switched over? Do you think you might go back to a personal account? I'm going to keep mine on personal as long as I can. I don't think I'm going to be selling anything directly in TikTok, anyways. And is there anyone? This would be great to know. Is there anyone in our audience who is on a business account and selling product? And how is having a business account affecting your ability to grow your audience and make new sales? I'd like to know
yeah,
that.
yeah, that would be definitely interesting to hear what people's response to that one.
Or has anyone ever tried having two accounts, one business one private one, and then seeing which one actually does better? Because
I'm
I wonder if you could tag your business account in your private account to get people to those sales, um, but not and have to run two accounts. I wonder if anyone's doing that. Oh, I feel like I
mm,
need to try that out now. I'm going to test that.
well,
Okay, so Aura says
one
no
thing
business
that
account for me. Good girl. That's a good choice. Good choice.
so one thing I had heard from people is not even if you do the
Yeah.
business account, but the actual link to a landing page inside your TikTok. Apparently, it does really well on TikTok versus like any other.
Yes.
So they're
I've
more
heard that
willing to
too.
let someone leave the platform, and so that gives you a good opportunity to collect leads or do like I've heard of people doing it
Yeah,
like that.
there are a ton of influencers that have Linktree
Yeah,
set up with
Mhm.
multiple links to get to. I think that looks good.
yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Uh,
and it looks like a non-business profiles can't have links in it. Not even not even one link. Oh, did they take that away? Okay, then I must be looking at influencers that have business accounts then. All right,
Hmm.
I'm going to
Yeah.
have to take a deeper look.
Yeah. I wonder if there's
So,
also like a marker to let you know what it was. Um,
yeah, that would be good. That would be good. The other thing that came up is that a while back I reported, if you want to call this reporting, the projected growth for ad spend on done by the oh, I can't find it. Magna here. That's a group that actually does forecasting for digital marketers, and uh, they had reported that they were expecting an 18% increase in ad spend this year, but now they've retracted that, rolled it back to 11%. Due to a number of factors, which I will link the report in the comments below so you can read the details of that. I thought that was pretty big news because, of course, I'm always saying to bypass that algorithm by putting a little bit of money into ad spend. It's still growing though. It's not going down. It's just the growth is not going to be as big. So it's not declining. So we shouldn't stop our ad spend. It's just not growing as fast.
yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense that I mean, especially with uncertainty. So ad spend usually like investing and stuff like that goes down when there's uncertainty in markets, and it's kind of to be expected with everything that's going on in the world right now. That people are like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe I shouldn't spend a bunch of money on ads, like because I don't know what the
Yeah.
economy is going to be doing next month. Uh,
It's really the
but
opposite, though. It's the opposite of what should happen.
yeah, well, yeah, but that's one of those like what we should be doing and
Yeah,
what people's emotional response to,
that's right.
uncertainty. Sometimes the two do not meet. Um,
That's right.
so I
So
did want
I
to
just
cover
want to
one thing that did come
just can
up.
we just jump
Oh,
back to what Aura's added another comment. I just want to wrap that up so that everyone gets it. This is good to know is that you do get links in a personal profile if you have over 1,000 followers. So that's probably what I'm looking at when I think of the influencer accounts that I
yeah,
have been paying attention. Thanks, Aura. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure that's Aura. I hope it's still Aura.
It definitely
Or
seems
thanks,
like
Facebook user.
yeah, yeah. Uh, yes, it is her. And
Right on. So
so
what would you like to get to now, Phelan?
so the final results of the May core update came out of the big May rollout, and to see who basically were the winners and losers. And basically, the losers in this part were basically anyone who recently has tried to rank a website using AI content strictly. There's some of
Oh,
the
yes, I heard about that.
Yeah. So what had happened is, just to give people a little bit of context, the GPT-3 transformer. They've also had a GPT-3 D transformer has also been created. Basically, what it does is it takes groups of text and it de-transforms it to tell if a human wrote it or if a AI strictly wrote it.
I
Um,
wonder if anyone's written material accidentally lands in that space.
I there's a very niche joke that I will tell you, Rena, afterwards. It's actually very funny, of a
Okay.
politician in the UK who they can use GPT-3 to write his own speeches, and they sound accurate to
Oh,
him. But
oh,
it's
that's
more of an
funny.
indictment of him sounding like a GPT-3 generated program than the reverse is true, because they
Excellent.
couldn't get it to work with anyone else, but they got it to really work with the Labour leader in the UK. Um,
Funny.
yeah. But yeah, basically the big one, and it kind of was expected that with the proliferation of AI content that Google was going to cut it, because they just exploded, and they definitely want to make it so that people are um, writing content themselves. So definitely you can use an AI assisted to like get you started or give you some ideas or prompts. But it's got to be up to like human intervention to actually like write some of the content or edit it into something that's a little more readable. And that was the big one. The big takeaway is it's not that like AI writing is garbage. Don't ever use it. It's more just it's a tool. Use it like you would a tool, and ultimately there still needs to be a human in the loop doing stuff with it. That's what everyone said.
So is it Google that's deconstructing these articles?
So it was done. My understanding was OpenAI came up with who were the people who came up with GPT-3 and released it.
Right.
Also
Oh,
built
okay.
the D-transformer, and they had it for some research purposes. Basically, it's also like reverse engineering. It can, like you said, can I take a paragraph it's written by a person, deconstruct it through the D-transformer, and tell if it's a person or an AI?
But
Also,
what are the who's going to use that information, I guess is my question. Is
probably
that going to
OpenAI.
affect ranking?
I don't. I suspect that the going theory is that with the new one, that new Lambda that they had just announced, which is it is also, just so people are aware, some guy that worked at Google spooked himself into thinking it was self-aware. It is not self-aware. It is just a
Oh,
fancy
right.
GPT-3 model. It's just even bigger language transformer, which basically just does predictive text. And it just says like, oh, based on the fact that we have these words that went before, usually people write these words after, and so that's how those systems work. And so what they're trying to do is trying to, why someone would do the deconstruct is again for research purposes, and it would be mostly, Google is more just using it as an afterthought of using these
Right.
deconstructions. It's mostly all done by OpenAI, who's been working on these, and they're not related to Google in any way. They're their own nonprofit, and they're just kind of
Right.
doing their own thing. And Google's using their tools in order to either see how people are writing content or see how like they can deconstruct it to be like, should we be ranking this because it was written by a AI and not a person? And so I think that's more their focus. Generally, Google's been fairly good about, as long as you don't do anything stupid like writing your entire website using AI, then yeah, you'll be fine. Because most people are not doing that. Because that would be any person
But
that's
there
used
are
GPT.
lots of people that are writing full blog articles with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Though there's some really some systems
So do we need
where
to worry about that? Do I
no.
need to tell people to stop doing that?
To do entirely with an AI, yes. You shouldn't you shouldn't have been like,
Okay.
even without this update, I would have told you that you don't do that. That's a bad idea.
I
These
know there's some people that have actually replaced our writing services by signing up for AI.
eek.
So now
That's
I can actually confidently tell them that not
oh
only does it not miss the points and
yeah,
not quite hit it nicely, like it's not a good job, it's also not an adequate job.
yeah. Sorry about
There
that.
is one
They
AI that I'm super excited for. I haven't got access yet, but it's for image generation.
oh
Phelan
yeah,
might know
Oh,
about it.
yeah. Those
DALL-E, it's called. Yeah.
yeah. That one's really cool. Where you give it like a prompt, and then that prompt, it creates an image based on it. So you're like,
Yeah,
hey,
you,
really?
write
I
a
haven't
you
seen that.
basically describe what you want it to generate you an image of, and it will generate you that image in a bunch of different versions that you can pick and use if you want.
Awesome. Can you put the link in the comments for people?
Sure.
uh,
Great. And if
yeah,
you're looking for the link and you're not in the Cyberpunk Marketing Mixer Facebook group, that is where we drop the links, and that's where we are actually streaming from, just in
yes.
case you're looking for that.
Well, we're streaming from a couple of locations, but that's the one where we're going to be posting the links with the
Yes, that's
to all the articles.
yes. Right.
Uh,
So now that you guys have taken up all the time, I'm going to be really quick and say there's only really one web thing that was to note for people is if you were running the form builder ninja forms,
mhm.
they had an exploit that has been patched. It's a critical vulnerability, so you want to make sure you're updated to the latest version because it's been patched, and you'll be safe if you update.
Great. That's good to know.
And I'm done.
And we still have one more minute.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Also, it looks like WP Engine also bought the company that did ACF, Advanced Custom Fields. So that's
Yeah,
Oh,
I forgot about that actually.
yeah, yeah. I was just going through with the WordPress updates, and I was just, or like any website stuff, and they just mentioned. I mean, it's been a big spree right now that a lot of these deals have been going through while, interest rates were zero in the before time, and so I'm sure all these deals were thought up then, and like acquiring a bunch of companies to extend out your profitability is definitely been one strategy.
Yeah, yeah. ACF is probably the most used custom post type builder, I want to say, and so it's always interesting. People, I think, get a little bit freaked out when companies take over plugins, and to find out, all right, is it going to continue the way it is it going to continue to have the free or the freemium model, what's going to
Yeah.
happen. And as far as I've heard, everything's status quo. There's really no change in its direction, so we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Same thing
Great.
with Yoast as well. Just so far, it's been pretty good. Oh, also, just a quick last 10 seconds. Yoast also has the Index Now protocol integrated with their plugin. So you'll be able to use that to get yourself found in Bing and eventually Chrome a lot sooner. And so
Oh,
that's
great.
yeah, so that's really good. That I
Great.
just saw that came across the timeline today as well.
All
But
right. So we
yes,
should probably wrap up now.
yep, for
And
sure.
thanks everyone for joining us. And please join me and Phelan next week at the same time, 11:30 on Thursday Pacific time, for what you need to know about migrating to Google Analytics 4.
Mm,
Oh, that's going to be fun. Let's, I
fun.
definitely haven't had any growing pains with that. I definitely don't have anything to
No,
report back about my struggles with
yeah,
it.
yeah, it should be good. And if we can always add something else in there for fun.
Yeah. Oh no,
All right.
there's going to be a lot to talk about
I know.
because there's a lot to talk about in that one. But
Yeah.
yes, until that time, I guess we will see you then.
Thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye, everyone.